Hi class, this is Wahida Tahiri, and today I will go over Teach 1 assignment for Casual Analysis and Comparative Effectiveness for HAP 823. So I will show how to import data in SQL, create new database, and import files, as this is part of one of the assignment for this week. So I'm just going to go over view of basic SQL function, and then I will show you how to process the data in SQL as part of the assignment. Why we use SQL? SQL, it's a basic way to retrieve data and using different codes, manipulate data, and also create tables or join tables. And these are the basic function of SQL. Select statement, which some of the select statement is mandatory, for example, select and from, and some of them are optional, like where, group by, having, and order. And also joining tables is another function that is very useful in SQL because we can merge tables, bring data from one to another one, and as we all know, by taking other SQL classes, we know how to merge tables and combine data. And also aggregated function, that's also very useful to know how to use and what are their order. I just throw it out there as a refresher. So as part of this assignment for ordinary regression, we were asked to resolve a problem, and as part of that problem we have to import the data in SQL and then pre-process the data, get rid of all the duplicate or missing data, and then from there we create a regression model. And this will be part 1 of this assignment, and then in part 2 we will go over the statistical or regression model on that second part. I'm not sure if you'll be able to see the assignment. So this assignment is question number 2 for ordinary regression. And part 1 of this assignment is to clean the data and then use the statistical analysis to create a regression model. So first I will import the data, which is in here in SQL, and I will show you that directly in SQL how to create database and load the data in SQL and then process it. I'm using SQL Server 2014, and whenever you have your SQL, make sure you are connected to a server, or if you're creating a new one, just you click on the database and then create new database. And for the purpose of this assignment, I will name this database HAP 823. And then OK. And once you refresh the data or the database, you would see that the database is there. So now from here I will import my data into SQL where I have saved it as a CSV file because we need flat file in order to. So you click on task and then import data. And then I will browse my file where I have saved it in here. So make sure you always have either CSV file type on the dropdown or all files. And then you will select that file and just follow the next steps until you get to the last part. Sorry. On this one, on the destination, we have to make sure we pick our SQL Server, which for my SQL service is client 11.0, and just follow the next. And then you hit finish. And that is the last part of the importing the data. So as we could see, my file is loaded in here, and if I just want to see just the top 10,000, I can right click and say select top 1,000, and then my data will be pop up. And then from here we're going to start the pre-processing the data, meaning we're going to clean the data and only focus on the data that we needed for the purpose of this assignment. So first I want to see how many accounts or distinct patients I have in this data by using the select statement count distinct social security, or this is the unique primary key from the DBO that I just created to see how many. So I can see that I have 23,000 patients, and I just gonna put the results in so I can know what was my total number of patients as I'm going through the cleaning process. And for the purpose of this assignment, we only gonna focus on the cost within organization, and then for that reason I'm going to remove all the patients that they have their cost is 0, and only keep the patients that who has a cost within organization. And I'm going to drop the table in a temp table because I want to keep the original table in there. So by dropping table in the temp, select, and then any patient that where any daily in or cost is not equal 0. So I will run that, and I can, as it runs, we will see that we only have about 20,000 patient who has a cost, and I already put the data in there. Because we are importing the data in Stata and R, in order to import the data in Stata and R, all our outcome variable, they have to be binarized or categorized in a numeric value. And for that reason, I want to make sure that we don't have a null value, and all our gender and race will be categorized to a numeric value. I just want to explore the data to see how it looks. So we could see that under the category gender we have some null values, also under the race. In order to remove that, and as we run the statistic of this data and review the descriptive of this data, we saw that there is more than 30% of null values for gender, as well as about 33% for the race. And because it's a high volume, and it will skew our data if we categorize it to any category where Asian was the highest for the race and male was highest for the gender, then that would not be a good. And because the total percentage of the null is higher, we're going to just assign a additional category to that null values, and we're going to name it as an unknown category for both gender and race. And in order to do that, I just gonna first replace the null value with unknown for gender, and then I'm gonna do the same with the race. And as I'm gonna use the very simple basic function of update. There's other function that you can use to binarize the data or update this by using cast, but because there was a few elements or few variables that I had to update it, I just used the update function to replace the null with the unknown. So I will run that, and you can see that I have 4,952 of null values that was replaced. And I will process this the same for the race, and we have about 6,300 for that. The other thing that I want to do for this, I just, after I updated the null value and also only got the patient, I just want to see what is the total value or the total number of patients that I have after removing all the other patient that had the 0 in or cost. And if we run that one, I'm just using a basic function. And also, because we had it in the temp table, I want to create a permanent table, and we could see that we have about 20,959 that I drop it to a final table. So we have a permanent table now with all my data. As I stated before, in order to import this data in Stata or R, we have to binarize the categories of alphabetic to a numeric, because in Stata or R, we're not going to be able to run with the alphabetic character, and we have to assign a categorize it. So for that purpose, we categorizing the gender female to 1, male to 2, and unknown to 3, and the same thing race and to category 1 through 4. And for that, again, I'm using the basic function of update, but again, you could use the max case function to kind of run this and replace the, for example, the A with 1 or B with 2, and you could do that. Not sure what happened. So we could see that we have 337, and I'm gonna follow the same process for all category of the race and the gender. And at the end, I just want to make sure that I have all the data. I'm just gonna run everything again, and also I want to run a descriptive of the data to see what I have, because our focus is on the daily in ORCAS and all cost. And for that, I just gonna run the count of all distinct patient as a number of patient, and also since our data is and I'm gonna cast the data as a plot, and also I want to see the standard deviation, the maximum value of all costs, and then the minimum value of all costs in this data, just for informational purposes. You don't have to run this one, but I thought it will be useful. So the total number of distinct patients that we have is about 13,000, and the average in or cost is 317 with standard deviation of 49, and the max daily all cost is about 999, and minimum daily cost is 1.6, which that's too low, but that's what is in our data. And the part 2 will be continue in a separate video to show you the regression model and statistical analysis. Thank you.